pleased to present some of the CCA's own, including Nicole Byrom, who you just saw. She's the registered dietitian and health promotions manager with the CCA. She joins us today from North Vancouver. Nicole's journey with celiac disease began with her mother's diagnosis, shortly followed by both her daughter and her husband's diagnosis. Nicole's worked as a registered dietitian for 18 years in a variety of clinical settings, including both inpatient and outpatient work. With the CCA, she's worked hard on resources for us and collaboration with other organizations to increase awareness and diagnosis of celiac disease. Caleigh McAulay is the health promotions coordinator at the CCA. She joins us from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Caleigh completed her Master's of Applied Nutrition and Dietetic internship through the University of Guelph, and her last internship placement was with the CCA, and it was where she landed her first job post-grad as well. Caleigh works the client support desk, overseeing the CCA's Facebook group, and she participates in the Registered Dietitian Working Group. Nicole and Caleigh, thank you, first of all, for all the work that you do for all of us, and welcome. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Mark. All right, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. And I am going to turn off my my video while I'm presenting so that just so I can ensure a perfect internet connection. I'm going to do that now and then we'll get going. Okay. All right, everybody can hear me okay?
Yep, we're good.
Good, thank you. Okay, so I would like to welcome everybody today to the Canadian Celiac Association's 2021 virtual conference. We're excited to talk to you about our new brand new labeling guide for individuals following a gluten-free diet. As Mark mentioned, my name is Nicole Byrom, and I'm the registered dietitian and health promotions manager with the Canadian Celiac Association. And I'm excited to be here presenting today with my friend and colleague, health promotions coordinator, Caleigh McAulay. We would like to take a moment before we begin to thank the many people who took countless hours of volunteer work to put this document together. A huge and special thank you to our primary author, registered dietitian Shelley Case. Thank you also to our esteemed contributors, Inez Martincevic, Dana Wheaton, Jess Pernick, Megan Verzinger, Emily Kuehl, and our very own National Executive Director, Melissa Secord. Thank you to each one of you. Let's get started. Why do we need a labeling guide? Understanding food labels can be confusing, especially when you are newly diagnosed or trying to support a friend or family member. These guidelines are based on current evidence to provide practical information and tips about reading labels so that you can safely follow a gluten-free diet. As many of you know, the CCA has a current labeling document that was updated in February of 2020. This document remains very useful and the information it holds remains accurate. However, our new guide has been created to be more visually appealing, with more charts, clearer examples, and a closer look at certain high-risk food items. What remains the same is our commitment to following Health Canada's position on gluten-free claims and labeling requirements, and the CCA's commitment to best practice. Health Canada, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and the medical community have identified the key substances most frequently associated with food allergies and allergic type reactions. These are known as priority allergens, and in Canada, all priority allergens, gluten sources, and added sulfites, when used as an ingredient or a component of food, must be declared by their common name on the food label of a product. These names must be included in a list of ingredients or in a contained statement which immediately follows the list of ingredients. On the right side of your page, you can see 3 examples of labels where there is a contained statement clearly listed. This slide lists priority allergens, gluten sources, and added sulfites. As mentioned, all of these items have to be declared on a food label if they are present. Priority allergens include eggs, milk, peanuts, tree nuts, wheat and triticale, soy, fish, crustaceans, mollusks, sesame seeds, and mustard. Gluten sources or brow ingredients include barley, rye, regular oats, wheat, and triticale. Let's take a closer look at the brow ingredients, B-R-O-W. or brow ingredients contain gluten sources and are therefore not safe for our community to consume. This stands for barley, rye, regular oats, wheat, and triticale. Here's an example of 2 ingredients lists. The list on the left has an allergen noted within the ingredients list. As you can see, wheat is in brackets following the ingredient pie crust. Here, the gluten-containing ingredient is noted within the ingredients list. Our second example, you see wheat is listed in a contain statement following the ingredients list. Remember that a priority allergen or gluten source can be listed in the ingredients list, in a contain statement, or in both places. This is up to the manufacturer to choose how they want to list the ingredient, but it will be listed. Neither of these examples would be safe for someone with celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity to consume. We may also see precautionary statements on food labels. A contain statement, as previously discussed, is not the same as a precautionary or may contain statement. May contain statements are also known as cross-contamination or allergen advisory statements. Examples of these statements include may contain wheat, made in a facility that also processes wheat, or manufactured on equipment that also processes wheat. Precautionary statements are voluntary and are meant to inform the consumer about a potential source of an allergen. Although there are no regulations for precautionary statements, they must be truthful, clear, and not ambiguous. The CFI states that a cross-contamination statement is a declaration on a label of prepackaged products that alert consumers of a possible presence of an allergen in food. Cross-contamination statements may be declared by food manufacturers when, despite all reasonable measures, there is an unintended presence of food allergens in the food. Cross-contamination statements are not a substitute for good manufacturing practices. Here's an example of an ingredient list with both a contain statement and a may contain statement. Here you can see that the product contains wheat, as noted here in both the ingredients list and in the contain statement. This list also shows a may contain statement, including the priority allergens of milk, egg, soy, and tree nuts. This slide demonstrates where and how priority allergens can be listed. Here we see how priority allergens must be declared when they are a direct or indirect ingredient in the food. As mentioned before, priority allergens and gluten sources can never be hidden from an ingredients list. Precautionary statements, as noted in the bottom example, are used when a food allergen or gluten source may be unintentionally present in the food. Our new labeling guide will clearly walk you through how to read a label. There are a few different rules to consider. Here you see from this graph, we clearly state with check marks and X's if labeling of a product is safe or should be avoided for those with celiac disease. Let's walk through each one. In line 1, we see an example of no gluten-free claim and no gluten-containing ingredients. Remember, gluten-containing ingredients are the brow ingredients: barley, rye, regular oats, wheat, or triticale. If a food item has no gluten-free claim but no brow ingredients, this will be considered safe for consumption. Next, we have an example of products with no gluten-free claim but a contain statement. As noted in a previous slide, if there is a contain statement, this product is not considered safe. Next, we see products with no gluten-free claim, no gluten-containing ingredients, but does carry a may contains wheat statement. Because this product says may contain wheat and does not have a gluten-free claim, it would not be considered safe. Anytime you see a gluten-free claim on a product in Canada, this means it is safe, has been tested, and is safe for your consumption. The next example can be confusing. A product that has a gluten-free claim in combination with a may contain statement is considered safe for our community. The reason for this is the gluten-free claim overrules the may contain statement. Products in Canada labeled as gluten-free have been tested to be less than 20 parts per million, which is considered a safe level of gluten for a person with celiac disease. The may contain statement in this case is written here for people with a wheat allergy. And finally, a gluten-free product made in a bakery that also produces gluten-containing products is not considered safe. This is because the risk of cross-contact in a bakery setting due to the high airborne flour risk would make it not safe. Let's look at a few labeling examples to demonstrate the previous slide. Both of these examples are considered safe for people with celiac disease. As you can see in the first label, there are no brow ingredients listed in the ingredients list in a contains or may contain statement. This product is not labeled gluten-free, however, would be considered safe. In the label on the right, we have a rice mix. This product is also considered safe since there are no brow ingredients listed. Here are some examples of food labels that we want to avoid. In our example on the left, we see a contain statement that lists oats and may contain statement for lists wheat. That lists wheat, rather. This product would not be considered safe for two reasons. Firstly, there are regular oats in the ingredients list and in a contain statement. Regular oats, as noted earlier, are brow ingredients and want to be avoided. Secondly, there's a may contain statement for wheat. In the example on the right, we see whole grain oats in the ingredients list. These oats are not listed as gluten-free and therefore are considered to be a brow ingredient and not safe for consumption for those with celiac disease. In addition, we see a contain statement that also includes oat ingredients. Remember, always look for brow ingredients. Mentioned earlier, the cutoff limit for gluten in a gluten-free product is 20 parts per million. However, it should be noted that manufacturers of gluten-free products aim for no detectable gluten in their product. Here you can see the Canadian Celiac Association's Gluten-Free Certification Program stamp, or GFCP for short. The GFCP is the only Canadian voluntary certification program designed for manufacturers of gluten-free food, drug, and pharmaceutical products. The program is intended to differentiate products from the increasing clutter of gluten-free claims in today's marketplace by using the trusted mark of the Canadian Celiac Association. I will now pass my mic over to continue for Caleigh to continue the conversation. My virtual mic, Caleigh.
Thanks, Nicole. So now I'm going to walk everyone through the second half of our document to discuss risk levels for various foods and food products. There are many foods that do not have any gluten-containing ingredients declared in the list of ingredients or in a contains statement. Many of these products are safe for individuals with celiac disease to consume. However, there are some items that have a higher risk of being cross-contaminated with gluten-containing ingredients. These high-risk items include regular oats, grains, flours and starches, pulses, especially lentils, flax, and hemp seeds. Let's begin with oats. Regular oats that have not been specially processed to be gluten-free should not be eaten by people with celiac disease or other gluten-related disorders. Regular oats are frequently contaminated with gluten-containing grains, especially wheat and/or barley. For this reason, individuals with celiac disease should only purchase oats and oat products that are labeled gluten-free. Health Canada's marketing authorization permits the use of gluten-free claims for gluten-free oats and for foods containing oats as ingredients, provided that the food contains no oats other than specially produced gluten-free oats, the finished product does not contain more than 20 parts per million of gluten, and the gluten-free oats are clearly identified as such in all cases where oats are referenced, including the list of ingredients. So on this slide here, you can see an example. This product has a gluten-free claim, and you can see that it specifically identifies gluten-free oats where oats are referenced in the ingredients list. Therefore, we know that this product is allowed on a gluten-free diet. Whereas this product, it also has a gluten-free claim. However, you can see that it does not specify gluten-free oat flour in the list of ingredients. Since this product is not correctly labeled, it should be avoided by people with celiac disease. Anytime you come across a label that is incorrectly labeled, you should file a report to the CFIA so they can further investigate. So moving on to grains and pulses. Grains and pulses, especially lentils, have been found to have cross-contact with wheat, rye, and/or barley. As such, it's strongly recommended to purchase grains and pulses that have a gluten-free claim. As you can see, the bottom photo represents lentils with a gluten-free claim. This is what you should be looking for. However, if it is not possible to purchase dried pulses with a gluten-free claim, then it is recommended to place these pulses on a baking sheet and visually inspect for foreign grain kernels. Remove any of the foreign grains and rinse well with water before cooking. Pulse-based products. So we recommend that you purchase with a gluten-free claim because pulses, as mentioned previously, are at high risk for cross-contamination. Unlike dried pulses, it is not possible to visually inspect for foreign grain kernels in these pulse-based products. Examples of pulse-based products include, but are not limited to, chickpea flour, chickpea pasta, lentil soup, or lentil stew. Starches. Many starches and flours made from starches, such as arrowroot, potato, tapioca, and corn, are naturally gluten-free. However, some starches may be imported from other countries that may not have the same high standards for preventing contamination from allergens and gluten sources. It is recommended that individuals with celiac disease purchase starches and flours made from starches that are labeled gluten-free. So for example, if you're picking up a large tub of cornstarch, we recommend you purchase one that's labeled gluten-free, such as the example displayed on the slide. Flax and hemp seeds are naturally gluten-free. However, they may be grown on land where wheat, rye, or barley have previously been grown and harvested. They may also be transported with and/or processed in a facility that handles gluten-containing grains. Therefore, we do recommend that individuals with celiac disease purchase both flax and hemp seeds with a gluten-free claim. Again, here's another example on the screen. This is a bag of hemp seeds with a gluten-free claim. Baked product cereals and pastas made with naturally gluten-free grains and/or flours can be at high risk for contamination with wheat, rye, and/or barley. Therefore, it is recommended that individuals with celiac disease purchase baked products, cereals, and pastas that have a gluten-free claim. On the screen, we have an example of a cereal box that is labeled with a gluten-free claim. So we'll now transition a bit from discussing the high-risk products to just a few lower-risk products, starting with rice. Plain rice and wild rice are grains, but they are not typically grown on land where wheat, rye, and/or barley have been previously planted. Therefore, the risk of contamination in rice is much lower than other gluten-free grains. Given the low risk of contamination, individuals with celiac disease do not need to purchase rice and/or wild rice with a gluten-free claim. However, I did want to note that you do have to be cautious with pre-packaged rice and rice mixes, as these can contain other ingredients, seasoning blends, or sauces that may contain gluten. Always check the ingredients list to ensure the product is free from gluten-containing ingredients and safe for people with celiac disease to consume. So unlike oats, lentils, flax, and hemp, which are frequently cross-contaminated with gluten-containing grains, nuts do not pose the same risk level. Nuts are not typically grown in areas or in rotation with gluten-containing grains. Thus, nuts are not considered a high risk, so individuals with celiac disease do not need to purchase nuts or products containing nuts with a gluten-free claim. So on the next two slides, these are screenshots of the graph that's at the end of our labeling document. This graph is a guideline for selecting products based on risk levels. It does a great job of summarizing what we just discussed on the previous slides. If you're unsure if an item is allowed or not, you can refer to this graph. The X represents when you should avoid a product, and the green check mark represents when a product is safe to consume. So for example, if you're wondering about oats, you can find it on the left column here. So oats not labeled gluten-free, there's an X indicating that we should avoid the product. Whereas oats labeled gluten-free, you can see there's a green check mark indicating that they are allowed. And this is just the second half of the graph. And it's the same concept. As you can see, starches not labeled gluten-free, there's a red X, avoid. Starches labeled gluten-free, green check mark, allowed. Flax and hemp seeds not labeled gluten-free, avoid. Flax, hemp seeds labeled gluten-free, they're allowed. So we also added this quote to our labeling document because it's really important, and we want everyone to remember that every single product that you purchase is a choice. As informed consumers, it is up to each individual to evaluate and determine their own comfort level while assessing the risk of each individual product. Finally, we want to share a few more helpful tools. So the first one is our gluten-free product finder. The CCA teamed up with the Gluten-Free certification program to offer a searchable product finder to help you stock your pantry with safe gluten-free foods. We now have over 5,000 gluten-free certified products on this list and continue to update periodically as we receive more. All products listed have been manufactured in a facility certified by the Gluten-Free certification program, and many proudly carry the CCA trusted mark. For people who must eat gluten-free, this list allows you to shop with confidence. To access the gluten-free product finder, you can visit our website at celiac.ca.
Thank you, Caleigh. We'd now like to draw your attention to our amazing resource that you can use to help navigate label reading when you're on the go at a friend's house or wanting to look up a specific ingredient at any time. The Gluten-Free 24/7 app is easy to use and helps you identify safe gluten-free foods at any time, anywhere. This tool is a very valuable resource to help you feel empowered and ready to read any label. Finally, where can you find our new labeling guidelines? Visit us at www.celiac.ca to find these new guidelines and much more. Thank you everyone for listening. We'd be happy to answer your questions now.